Good day, everyone. So, another day and another lesson to discuss and learn. Before that, this is Mariela Cabal Aurelius of BE Ed 3, and I am going to discuss the topic about approaches to the school curriculum. Today, I will describe the different approaches to school curriculum, explain by examples how the approaches clarify the definition of curriculum, and also reflect on how the three approaches interrelate with each other. So, let's start. There are three ways of approaching a curriculum. Curriculum can be approached or seen in three ways. It can be defined as a content, a process, or an outcome. If you examine the definition provided by the experts in the field, there are three ways of approaching a curriculum. First is to approach it as a content or a body of knowledge to be transmitted. The first way of approaches to the curriculum is the curriculum as a content or body of knowledge. It is quite common for traditionalists to equate a curriculum to a topic outline, subject matter, or concepts to be included in the syllabus or a books. For example, a primary school mathematics curriculum consists of topics on addition, multiplication, subtraction, division, distance, weight, and many more. Another example is in secondary school, science that involves the study of biological science, physical science, environmental science, and earth science. Textbooks tend to begin with biological science such as plants and animals, physical science with the physical elements, forms, and motion, earth science with the layers of the earth, and environmental science with the interaction of the biological and physical science and earth's phenomena, climate, vegetation, followed by economic activities such as agriculture, mining, industries, urbanization, and so forth. In curriculum is equated as content, then the focus will be the body of knowledge to be transmitted to students using appropriate teaching method. There can be a likelihood that teaching will be limited to the acquisition of facts, concepts, and principles of the subject matter. However, the content or subject matter can also be taken as a means to an end. All curricula have content regardless of their design or models. The fund of knowledge is the repository of accumulated discoveries and inventions of man from the exploration of the earth and as a products of research. In most educational setting, curriculum is anchored on a body of knowledge or discipline. There are four ways of presenting the content in the curriculum. The first way is the topical approach, where much content is based on knowledge and experience are included. Second is the concept approach, with fewer topics in clusters around major and sub-concepts are their interactions with relatedness emphasized. Third, thematic approach, as a combination of concepts that develop conceptual structures. And the last is the modular approach that leads to complete units of instruction. Next is the criteria in the selection of content. There are some suggested criteria in the selection of knowledge of subject matter. First is significance. Content should contribute to ideas, concepts, principle, and generalization that should attain the overall purpose of the curriculum. It is significant if content becomes the means of developing cognitive, affective, or psychomotor skills of the learner. As education is a way of preserving culture, content will be significant when this will address the cultural context of the learners. Second is validity. The authenticity of the subject matter forms its validity. Knowledge becomes obsolete with the fast-changing times. Thus, there is a need for validity check and verification at a regular interval because content which may be valid in its original form may not continue to be valid in the current times. Third, utility. Usefulness of the content in the curriculum is relative to the learners who are going to use this. Utility can be relative to time. It may have been useful in the past but may not be useful now or in the future. Questions like, will I use this in my future job? Will it add meaning to my life as a lifelong learner? Or will the subject matter be useful in solving current concerns? The fourth one is learnability. The complexity of the content should be within the range of experiences of the learners. This is based on the psychological principles of learning. Appropriate organization of content standards or sequencing of contents are two basic principles that would influence learnability. Fifth, feasibility. Can subject content be learned within the time allowed, resources available, expertise of the teachers, and the nature of the learner? Are there contents of learning engagement? Are there opportunities provided to learn this? Sixth, interest. Will the learners take interest in the content? Why? Are the contents meaningful? What value will the content have in the present and the future life of the learners? Interest is one of the driving forces for students to learn better. The selection of the subject matter or content, aside from the 7 criteria mentioned earlier, may include the following guide in the selection of the content in the curriculum. First, commonly used in the daily life. Second, appropriate to the maturity levels and abilities of the learners. Third, valuable in meeting the needs of competencies of the future. Fourth, related to other subject, fields, or discipline for complementation and integration. And fifth, important in the transfer of learning to other disciplines. Basics or the fundamental principles for curriculum contents. Palma in 1952 proposed that the contents in the curriculum should be guided by balance, articulation, sequence, integration, and continuity. However, in designing a curriculum contents, Hankins and Ornstein of 2018 added an important element, which is scope. Hence, from basic to basics, initials of balance, articulation, sequence, integrations, and continuity. Balance. Content should be fairly distributed in depth and breadth. This will guarantee that significant content should be covered to avoid. Next is articulation. Is the content complexity progresses with the educational levels vertically or horizontally across the same disciplines, smooth connections or bridging should be provided. This will assure no gaps or overlaps in the content. Seamlessness is the content is desired and can be assured if there is articulation in the curriculum. Thus, there is a need of team among writers and implementers of curriculum. Next is sequence. The logical arrangement of the content refers to sequence or orders. This can be done vertically for deepening the content or horizontally for broadening the same content. In both ways, the pattern usually is from easy to complex. What is known to be unknown? What is current to something in the future? Next, integration. Content in the curriculum does not stand alone or in isolations. It has some ways of relatedness or connectedness to other contents. Contents should be infused in other disciplines whenever possible. This will provide a holistic or unified view of curriculum instead of segmentation. Contents which can be integrated to other disciplines acquire a higher premium than when isolated. Next is continuity. Content viewed as a curriculum should continuously flow as it was before, where it is now, and where it will be in the future. It should be perennial. In endless time, content may not be in the same substance as seen in the past since changes and developments in curriculum occur. Constant repetition, reinforcement, and enhancement of content are all elements of continuity. Scope. The breadth and depth of the curriculum content are vital in a curriculum. Scope consists of all the contents, topics, learning experiences comprising the curriculum. In layman's term, scope refers to coverage. The scope shall consider the cognitive level, affective domain, and psychomotor skills in identifying the contents. Other factors will be considered, but caution is given to overloading of contents. More contents is not always better. And now let's go to the second ways in approaching a curriculum, which is the curriculum as a process. We have seen that the curriculum can be approached as content. On the other hand, it can also be approached as a process. Here, curriculum is not seen as a physical thing or a noun, but as a verb or an action. It is the interaction among the teachers, students, and content. As a process, curriculum happens in the classroom as the questioning asked by the teacher and the learning activities engaged in by the students. It is an active process with emphasis on the context in which the process occurs. Use the analogy of a recipe in a cookbook. A recipe is the content while the ways of cooking is in the process. Curriculum as a process is seen as a scheme about the practice of teaching. It is not a package of materials or a syllables of content to be covered. The classroom is only part of the learning environment where the teacher places action using the content to achieve an outcome. Hence, the process of teaching and learning becomes the central concern of teachers to emphasize critical thinking and hands-on learning and many others. As a process, curriculum links to the content, while content provides materials on what to teach. The process provides curriculum on how to teach the content. When accomplished, the process will result to various curriculum experiences for the learners. The intersection of the content and process is called the pedagogical content knowledge or PCK. It will address the question, if you have this content, how will you teach it? This section will not discuss in detail the different teaching strategies from where learning experiences are derived. Rather, it will describe how the process as a descriptor of curriculum is understood. The content is the substance of the curriculum. How the content will be communicated and learned will be addressed by the process. To teachers, the process is very critical. This is the other side of the coin: instruction, implementation, teaching. These three words connote the process in the curriculum. When educators ask teachers, what curriculum are you using? Some of the answers will be: first, problem-based; second, hands-on, minds-on; third, cooperative learning; fourth, blended curriculum; fifth, online; sixth, case-based, and many more. These responses approach curriculum as a process. These are the ways of teaching, ways of managing the content, guiding learning, methods of teaching and learning, and strategies of teaching or delivery modes. In all of this, there are activities and actions that every teacher and learner do together, or learners are guided by the teacher. Some of the strategies are time-tested traditional methods, while others are emerging delivery modes. When curriculum is approached as a process, guiding principles are presented. First, curriculum process in the form of teaching methods or strategies and means to achieve the end. Second, there is no single best process of method. Its effectiveness will depend on the desired learning outcomes, the learner's support materials, and the teacher. Third, curriculum process should stimulate the learner's desire to develop the cognitive, affective, psychomotor domains in the individual. Fourth, in the choice of methods, learning and teaching styles should be considered. Fifth, every method of process should result to learning outcomes which can be described as cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Sixth, flexibility in the use of the process or method should be considered. An effective process will always result to learning outcomes. 7. Both teaching and learning are the two important processes in the implementation of the curriculum. And the last way of approaches in the curriculum is the curriculum as a product. Besides viewing curriculum as content that is to be transmitted or process that gives action using the content, it has also been viewed as a product. In other words, product is what the students desire to achieve as learning outcomes. The product from the curriculum is a student equipped with the knowledge, skills, and values to function effectively and efficiently. The real purpose of education is to bring about significant changes in students' pattern of behavior. It is important that any statement of objectives or intended outcomes of the school should be a statement of changes to take places in the students. Central to the approach is the formulation of behavioral objectives stated as intended learning outcomes or desired products so that content and teaching methods may be organized and the results evaluated. Products of learning are operationalized as knowledge, skills, and values. Curriculum product is expressed in the form of outcomes which are referred to as the achieved learning outcomes. There may be several desired learning outcomes, but if the process is not successful, then the learning outcomes will be achieved. These learned or achieved learning outcomes are demonstrated by the person who has meaningful experiences in the curriculum. All of these are a result of planning, content, and processes. The real purpose of education is to bring about significant changes in students' pattern of behavior. It is what students desire to achieve as a learning outcomes, the knowledge, skills, and values. And that's all for today, guys. Thank you for watching.